Hi, my name's Steve and welcome to another Mindbomb Training video. This time I'm looking to talk to you more about inspiration, business inspiration rather than business skills. So the idea is to run through some new business ideas. I think there's some great new business ideas for anyone looking to start a new business after lockdown. I've put together a list of the top 7 that I could think of at the moment. Covers a wide range of things, hopefully a fairly down-to-earth list that people can relate to, and anybody should really be able to find something for them in one of the list. I acknowledge it's probably early days to still be talking about new business after lockdown or time after the coronavirus, but from a UK perspective at least, I'd like to think that we're on the right side of things, and people are beginning to look forward to a time after the coronavirus instead of the horrendous time that a number of people have been having. So if you're looking for something new and maybe a new start, then I'd like to think there'll be something in this for you. I see 2 categories really of entrepreneurs that are going to come out of the lockdown. There'll be the willing entrepreneurs, those that have actually had a look at life and decided that they want to do something different with their lives. So maybe some sort of new control, or maybe they'll be looking more for rewards, particularly for them or their family, maybe a new lifestyle. So that group I'd call the willing entrepreneurs. And then on the other side of things, then perhaps what I've termed the reluctant entrepreneurs, those people that might have been employed for quite a long period of time, but have come out of as a result of the shake-up, the terrible shake-up that's going through the economy, that's still reverberating through the economy now. People are losing their jobs left, right and centre in all kinds of different industries. So I think there's probably going to be quite a few that are going to find it difficult to drop into another employed role and carry on as before. I think that's going to be a difficult thing for a number of people to do. So if you're looking at it as an opportunity, look forward instead of backwards. I think the idea is that we can give a bit of food for thought for people. So there's a whole range of different jobs. I've not specifically concentrated on like the online opportunities or the e-commerce type of things. Really, I've looked at a whole swathe of different things. So there's something in it for everyone in the list. So in Top of the Pops fashion, we'll count down from number 7. We'll start with number 7 first. And that's going to be hairdressing. I know it's a fairly cliched thing about all the items in the news that we've seen with queues for people wanting to get their hair cut or hairstyled, but really it just highlights the resilience of the demand, all the while that people are going to be worried about the way they look or how people are going to perceive them. Then they're going to want to get a haircut or hairstyled, and I think that's a great thing for the hairdressing industry as a whole. On the other side of it, it's actually relatively straightforward to get into. There's lots of people out there with some training at the moment, some of the skills that maybe want to brush up on those skills or retrain slightly. But it's great. You can start from scratch very easily. It can be done part-time with something else. It can be done from home. There's all sorts of opportunities. Equally, there's quite a lot of the salons these days where you can actually effectively rent a chair. So it's possible to start relatively easily in the hairdressing industry. Number 6, I've actually put something fairly broad, cycling and bikes. I think it's one of the few industries post-lockdown that's actually been very successful because of the people moving away from the public transport, people wanting to actually become a bit healthier maybe. There's a whole number of reasons why people have actually opted for using the bikes more. And I think looking at the range of opportunities, taking in things like e-scooters or electric bikes, then I think there's a wide range of opportunities again for a new business, whether it's the sales, the servicing, even hire of bikes, accessories, all the things that actually go around the cycling industry. So I think there's going to be a growing opportunity for people to consider that kind of activity. At the same time, recreational cycling, you see all the guys doing the what I'd say is the hardcore cycling out on the roads and so on, all of that industry. Number 5, we have Amazon or eBay seller. I've specifically looked at Amazon and eBay. There's so many things on YouTube about how to become a millionaire selling widgets on Amazon, but really what I would encourage people to look at is what you can sell that is unique, but using the Amazon or eBay platforms. So basically using their footprint, their size to leverage what you do. So if you're creative, whether you're creative with maybe handmade jewellery or anything from wood carvings or something that's unique to you that you can actually say is your product, then I think it can be a very good platform. Not so great if you're just looking at whatever the latest widgets are that can be sold on Amazon, maybe looking at all the things on Alibaba that you can import from China. That's not so great, that's just flooded. And the truth is, even if you're lucky and you find something that you can actually sell relatively easily, then the people that make money out of that ultimately are Amazon. You've got to be able to have something that is a unique advantage and you can control. So I think it's much more interesting. The reach is enormous, how you can actually reach so many people all over Europe or around the world even. And obviously 24/7, it's all the time, so much easier than trying to start a shop these days and doing things retail in the traditional way. Similarly with hairdressing and one or two of the other opportunities, you can actually build this from a part-time business into something full-time. So it's very easy to get started, there's no particular overheads. It just takes a bit of time and effort initially to get the thing rolling, but as soon as you start to make 1 or 2 sales, you'll see the return coming back, and that's when you know that you should then push it hard if you're actually beginning to get some sales. And I would say try and spread the work that you do on different platforms, so that possibly you can start on one, maybe on Amazon or eBay, but you can also run out to others like maybe Etsy if it's a craft item, or Depop if it's clothes and so on. So if you can actually run across a number of different platforms eventually, then that's the way to multiply up the sales. Number 4 in my list is for gardening or landscaping, the fancy name if you like for the higher end of things, but another great one to be able to start relatively easily. Overheads are really low. It takes some time and initial effort to build up a round of customers, but you can start from anything like mowing lawns and doing hedges, basic weeding and so on is the easy way to start. Obviously, if you're going to start cutting down trees and doing some landscaping, then you're going to need some qualifications, but you can actually develop that over a period of time. And that's the beauty of it, that it's another one of these things that you can actually start without a huge amount of time and effort. It doesn't require a lot of overheads to get started. So I think there's a whole breadth of those kind of service businesses, niche businesses, which are there's lots of people in that space already, but there's still lots more opportunities. There's opportunities for new people all of the time in that kind of business. Number 3 is a similar one, a bit of an unusual one. This window cleaning is exactly the same service type industry as the gardening and landscaping, and it runs the same as well. You can start on the very basic level, so you can start with houses or shops or offices, that kind of thing, but you can run right the way through to commercial premises and much more lucrative contracts for bigger companies and so on. But at the bottom end of it, at the base end of it, there's always space for new firms. And similarly with gardening, if you're willing to get out there in all year round, whatever the weather kind of thing, if you can do that, if you've got the energy for it, then it can be a great opportunity. We're probably used to people talking about plumbers and so on being high earners, being able to earn £100,000 a year. But if you actually think about it, with window cleaning in particular, if you've actually got if you've built up the round and you've got the right kind of premises that you're actually going to clean, then you can build this up to a big earning business. If you think about the breakdown of the costs, if you're looking at a reasonably sized house and it's £25 a house to clean, then if you're doing 8 of those in a day, you're talking about £1,000 a week. £50,000 a year is a significant salary these days. So don't dismiss it. I think if you're just talking about needing the money, needing a new business to get yourself started again and find a way through, it can be a great business. And also longer term, if you can build up around, if you're a good salesperson, you can then start to bring in others working for you. And as I say, to look at slightly higher value cleans and looking at the contract side of the business. At which point, it's all about the sales and how far you want to push it. There's a lot of opportunity with the window cleaning business. Especially one of the things that I would say is, if we're talking just about the money, then compare it with the key worker salaries that everyone's been talking about, the likes of the doctors and nurses, the likes of the bus drivers, all the retail workers, and think about how long it would take them to earn £50,000. Maybe if you're qualified as a doctor, a GP, then fine. But everybody else in that kind of bracket is probably earning about half of that per year. So you're talking about a much bigger opportunity than even the key workers that everybody spent so much time talking about. Number 2, probably it's a bit of a cop-out really, number 2. I put a whole list of things all together. Eco-businesses, or anything that's green or environmentally friendly. It covers a whole range of different types of business. And I think there's a massive opportunities at the moment. So anything from recycling, anything upcycling, forestry, ecotourism, it covers a wide range of different things. And I think there's different opportunities in all of those. The one big one, the main one that I would like to highlight, is actually to do with the electric vehicles. Not the electric vehicles themselves, because I think there's going to be a small number of very large companies that will do very nicely out of us all changing vehicles over the next decade or so. And that'll be the car manufacturers. They're already there. It's going to be virtually impossible for people to actually challenge that. Tesla has been the one outlier that's managed to come in as a new business into that in that arena. But really the big opportunity, the one that everybody else can look at, is actually in the charging points. I know there's going to be a lot of larger ones around the service stations and some of the bigger infrastructure. But I was reading something the other day about the potential market overall, taking in homes, businesses, offices, hotels, everything else. And the numbers are just staggering. The potential that I saw was something like £7 trillion, so 7,000 billion over the next 20 years. And that is just on the charging infrastructure. So if you're an electrician already, you're in a great place. If you're an electrician, get yourself qualified. I think it's OLEV is the approvals body. You need to be approved to be able to go out and do the installation. But everybody's house, all the offices, anywhere where you can park a car, sooner or later will actually have a charge point of some description. And the second reason for highlighting this, apart from the size of the market and how it's going to grow so quickly, but the second reason is the fact that the government is already behind it. The government is actually subsidising, certainly in the UK, the take-up of charge points. So you've got, I think it's up to £10,000 for commercial installations, and they'll actually cover 75% of that. So if you've got a business selling the rapid chargers and you're going to pitch for an installation at a hotel, for instance, even a restaurant, wherever people are parking the cars, if you could go along and you can say, I can do you half a dozen charge points, £10,000 bill, but you're only going to pay £2,500. It's going to be so easy to sell at the moment. there's going to be so many people that will actually take you up on that. It's going to be a huge business. I think the biggest problem is going to be able to find the number of installers. You need to find the number of approved installers that can do the work and get the installations done. So yeah, huge business, huge opportunity. And if you want to be part of that, then definitely look at the OLEV approvals process. Number one, in at number one, I've got to declare a self-interest here. I've put number one as my e-learning business, and obviously it's the kind of thing, whether it be YouTube or Udemy, Thinkific, there's lots of e-learning platforms now. So if you can coach somebody in whatever skill you have, then there's a wide range of opportunities. Again, it's a rapidly growing business, and it covers just so many skills. I'm sure there's a lot of people coming out of the hospitality industry or even retail that have got some specific skills that they could actually teach to others. And the e-learning is a great way of doing it, the e-learning platform. If you actually look at the breadth of that opportunity, it can cover anything, whether it's from how to sew or craft, if you can teach somebody how to play the trombone. There's a massive opportunity in all sorts of areas. So e-learning has got to come in at my number one. I think the truth is that it's going to be very, very difficult to put that genie back in the bottle. The fact that we can reach so many people now by relatively straightforward smartphone cameras and being able to upload our own videos and our own content. It's been thousands of people doing it for a long time, but I think it's just getting to a certain momentum. It's gathering pace, and you can then reach all around the world. You know, you can reach a huge audience with whatever it is that you can teach. So a niche can be great. If you've got a niche skill, then that's great. E-learning is definitely the way to go. I think I'm probably being a bit biased. I think when I look back at the opportunities, if I was starting my business maybe 20 years ago, I would be looking at the eco business, eco vehicle charging points, anything green. That is really where the biggest opportunity has to be at the moment. In the situation I am now, I'm not looking for a business for the next 20 or 30 years. Then e-learning is great. It's relatively straightforward. It's easy to get involved with, and all it is going to be down to the skills and the experience that you can actually pass on to people. So I'm being a bit biased in putting that at number one. Probably the biggest opportunity is the eco business, but I'll let you work that out for yourselves. So in summary, I think really there's lots of major trends in play that the coronavirus pandemic has actually accelerated. So the shift to online obviously was already well entrenched, and there's been some serious casualties in the retail and now also the hospitality businesses that are finding it very difficult. But I think the trend is obviously here to stay. That's going to happen anyway. And in terms of jobs, I think there's more niching of jobs. So if you're into something specific, whether it be graphic design or web design or whatever it is, then I think your niche could be very powerful, and there's likely to be more firms that are actually outsourcing that kind of work, and that's what you've got to look for. If you can find the niche, and if it's a service type of business, then I think there's going to be a real shift certainly in UK population towards that kind of industry. So if you're looking to be self-employed, it's a great time to do it. Maybe you've been shaken up by coming out of a relatively comfortable job, but that's when it gets tough, as they say. That's when it can be a really good time to start. I think it really motivates you, and I wish you all the best. If you're going to actually follow that route, I wish you all the best. I'll quickly go through, just as a way of closing, I'm going to do a quick recap, which hopefully you'll find useful for the 7 great new business ideas. So number 7, hairdressing. Items 4, it can be started very easily with minimal overheads, relatively easy to create a new customer base, stable and regular demand, and relatively short training to get to a level to get started. Obviously there's more training required for more difficult styling and so on. And it can be part-time with full-time potential, and it's low risk. There's not going to be a huge bill for getting started in that kind of business. A couple of items against, probably things just to consider and just to be aware of. Could actually be very competitive in some areas. I know for a fact that there's a number of places where all the hairdressers seem to congregate together. So there's certainly a lot of competition, but there's always space for a new entrant, I'm sure. It's also very labour intensive. It's actually difficult to grow without employing others and then taking on premises and doing the main thing and taking the risk for other people. So I think just be aware of that. I think it can actually be quite restricting on how the business can grow. Number 6, cycling industry, the bikes and leisure industry. There's lots of different angles if you're looking at the positives. Lots of different angles, whether it's sales or hire or servicing, the accessories. There's a wide range of different opportunities. It's a large existing market and also still growing, very quickly growing market, and that's only likely to follow with the e-bikes and e-scooters, the electric bikes. Easy to set up, no qualifications required, so very easy to actually get into and get going with. Obviously some knowledge about the cycling industry would be useful, and certainly enthusiasm for it, then that would be very useful. A couple of points against. You've got to be aware of the seasonality, certainly in the UK. I think there's probably 3 or 4 months of the year where it's going to be very quiet and people are unlikely to be thinking much about their bikes. And also the awareness for new trends can be great on the positive side, if you can follow the new trends and you're actually part of it. But also you need to be aware of the new trends or fashions in the industry. Number 5, eBay or Amazon seller. Yeah, 4, there's unlimited demand potential. So you've got a huge market that you can reach almost immediately. As soon as you start listing products, then you can reach the worldwide market effectively. It's great for niche products, so things that you have some control over. It's a great way to actually reach a massive audience rather than a single shop, single outlet somewhere. Obviously it's selling 24 hours a day, so it's constant presence, and again it can be built from a part-time business to a full-time business. Low overheads generally, I would say low overheads to get started. There's no fixed cost to get started with it, but beware of the selling and the delivery costs. That can certainly mount up, and you've got to be wary of the calculations. Make sure you get your sums right when you're actually selling on either of those platforms. Can be worked at from any time and any location, so great if you're actually travelling around, or you want to actually work from different places at different times, or even if you've got family and you want to perhaps work just in the evenings, then it can work really well for you. A couple of against, there may be some technical hurdles I've actually put. Some people might struggle a bit to actually get started, but I think it is relatively easy once you're actually into it. So there might be some technical hurdles, but just be aware of that. And again, I'm sure there's plenty of training out there, plenty of people that can help you get started. A couple of other negatives. I think it can be very difficult to build a brand or to get your own product noticed. But if you just happen to, like I say, get on the right side of it, then it can do you a lot of good. And one last negative, the potential risk if you fall foul of the selling platform. I've heard of any number of people that have built up businesses over a period of time, and only to find that for whatever reason they fall out with the main platform that they're selling on, and then of course it just drops to nothing overnight. So that's why I say if you can, try and spread the risk. As soon as you've got some indication that the business is going to move, then try and spread that risk as much as you can. Number 4, pros and cons for number 4 for gardening or landscaping. Obviously it's going to be outdoors, you've got to be willing to get out in every weather. So that's maybe an issue for some people. Low overheads again, very easy to build a new customer base to start up. And there's no qualifications, or certainly not to get started. As you move up the food chain, as it were, then it might be a bit more difficult to get some qualifications, whether it's for landscape design or tree surgery or so on. Again, lots of potential, huge potential market and opportunity to develop that business. Again, looking at employing staff and subcontracting some of that work on, but I think there's huge potential for that kind of business. A couple of negatives you've got to consider. Like I say, the outdoors life might not suit everybody, and definitely have a plan for what to do over winter. It's another one that's going to have some seasonality. Hopefully you'll still get some work over the winter period, but it may be reduced. Interestingly, number 3 is window cleaning, and interestingly the pros and cons are very similar. So advantages: there's low overheads to start up, and it's relatively easy to build a regular customer base. Almost unlimited demand. It's a huge demand really if you consider the number of properties and new homes and so on that are out there. Again, no qualifications required to get started, and again you can transition from part-time to a full-time business. A couple of points against: the outdoors life again, got to consider. And if you are going to have an eye on the business rather than just working for yourself in that industry, you need to have a clear plan of how you're going to develop that and get the sales side of things rolling. So yeah, make sure you've got a plan for that kind of business. For the eco business, the environmentally friendly or green business, again, obviously it's a huge and growing market, but in particular for this time, this opportunity, government support. There's a huge amount of government subsidy to get this thing rolling, and that probably covers a wide range of the green businesses now. I've looked at the details for the charging points for the EV charge point opportunity, but I'm sure there's more government support across the environmental businesses. Again, little established competition I put down here. One of the big positives, there's definitely potential for the first mover advantage, for the first people to actually pitch into that space. If you can grab your part of the business, then there's very little established competition at this point in time. It's also seen as virtuous business, so that can worry some people, whether they're actually just creating a business for the money of it, or whether it's actually going to do some good for the wider world and the population at large. So yeah, it's definitely got a virtuous business tag. Couple of points against: there may be some technical hurdles. I don't think they're great, but potentially there's some technical hurdles. And equally, some of the businesses might become very complex. So you've got to be aware of regulations and things like that. Make sure that you're on top of all of that. My number one, the e-learning business. Again, it's a huge and growing market. Easy startup and a huge growth curve. Once you actually get the thing rolling, then there's what I would call a big leverage opportunity. So it can actually grow very, very quickly. Again, the ability to run the business from anywhere. I'm running from home, but yeah, you can actually do that from anywhere, whether you have an office already for another business, then it's a great one to start from anywhere. I put down here no qualifications required, which is actually quite funny really, because it's a teaching role, and if you think about all the education and training that goes into teaching generally, and yet you can actually start up your own e-learning courses and e-learning opportunities without any particular qualifications. Yeah, there's a couple of issues that you might want to consider in terms of the negatives. I've mentioned potential technical hurdles, but it can also be quite difficult to build a brand. If people are particularly interested in building their own brand development, then I think that can be quite difficult within the e-learning business. And finally, is an unpredictable income. Certainly, I think there's a lot of people out there that will actually do a lot of work before seeing anything back from it. Not like the Amazon or eBay business, where it's a fairly immediate return and you can see what's happening straight away. So I think there's quite a big time investment for the e-learning business to get started. So that's it. I hope that's been really helpful. And I'll wrap up for now, and I'd like to think that there'll be some inspiration for everyone in there. Thanks, and see you next time.